Gabby Bates. And joining me tonight will be Anderson and Nick. We have a great show planned for you today, starting out with the outcome of the NCAA Championship. Next, we will discuss one of the biggest golf tournaments in the United States that takes place in the beautiful Augusta National, the Masters. Next, we'll get into some NBA. And then lastly, we'll talk about the opening week of the MLB. So let's get started. As many of you watched, the NCAA Championship took place this past Monday with the Duke Blue Devils taking home the trophy. That was Coach K's fifth time winning an NCAA championship during his time at Duke. The Blue Devils were able to defeat the Wisconsin Badgers 68-63. It was an exciting game indeed. Duke's freshman Tyus Jones had a huge performance, putting up 23 points for the Blue Devils. Janelle Okafor for Duke also played exceptionally. Despite Wisconsin's loss, though, we also saw huge performances from Frank Kaminsky and Sam Decker. So, guys, let's get a recap of the game Monday and discuss exactly why Duke came out on top, and also who you have as your MVP.
Thank you, Gabby. I'm heartbroken. I picked Wisconsin to win the whole thing. I picked them over a year ago. Once they lost in the Final Four last year,
picked them again?
I picked them immediately.
Oh, they went. I didn't think they were going to go this far, to be honest.
And they got so close, and I thought they had it. They were up 9 with under like 10 to go, I believe, and I don't know what happened.
Coach K happened,
and we'll talk a little bit about Coach K in a minute. That's his 5th championship, Duke's 5th championship overall. Despite my disapproval of the outcome, it was a great game. It was tied at halftime. It was knotted until almost the very end. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna go on the record. I did think Duke was gonna win Michigan State, but I wanted Michigan State to win. I thought they were going we're gonna upset them. I just, as soon as Duke got to the Final Four, I knew they were gonna go. I did not think Wisconsin was gonna go. I honestly thought Kentucky was too strong, and I was a guy before the tournament that said Kentucky was going to lose, they weren't going to go the way, and then I was on board on the Kentucky train, as everybody else was, going in the Wisconsin game, and Wisconsin knocked them off, and Wisconsin fell just short. It was a heartbreaker, man. It was a heartbreaker.
It was a heartbreaker.
Just watching, just knowing how well Kaminsky, Decker, Gosser, Hayes, all those guys played throughout the tournament, and for it to end like that, and I don't want to say. It wasn't it was a great game, obviously, but just some iffy calls back and forth.
A couple, yeah.
With the refs, especially that out of bounds play. I heard. It came on yesterday, I believe, that the refs did not see the crucial spot that we did. The one where they zoomed in when you're watching, and you saw Justice Winslow's finger go back like that with the ball.
Yeah, when I was watching that, I couldn't believe that they called it.
I couldn't either. I was like, wow.
I was shocked.
I was shocked when they said it was a Duke ball still. But it is what it is. The refs can't be perfect. People really think that refs can make every single call perfect, and a lot of it's subjective.
True.
And they can't really do anything about it. That wasn't the ref's fault. That was just whoever is showing them the replay's fault. Refs can't control that. But it's really a heartbreak for it to come down to, or for people to think it came down to that, because that was a big turnover. But overall, what a great game, especially Tyus Jones. Those 2 huge threes in the last couple minutes.
He was always kind of an afterthought for me this season. I knew he was a great freshman, but I always had him way behind behind Justice Winslow and Jahlil Okafor, and he was always just off my radar, and now through this tournament he's exploded, and he was the MVP of the South region. I'm pretty sure that was the bracket that they were in, the South region, and I'm pretty sure he was the MVP of the game, of the championship
he was.
game.
The one thing I agree with you. I was thinking it was Okafor, Winslow, and then Jones as a close third. Of course, he wasn't that far off.
Yeah.
But you look back at some of his games in the regular season, the North Carolina game in Cameron. He just had some clutch games. You took it for granted in the regular season because it's Duke beating this team. They should have beat this team. Blah blah blah. But Jones had some huge. Fourth quarter. They don't play fourth quarters. Second half games to help Duke win, and he did it again in the finals. His draft stock rose, I'm sure. But the one thing that scares me there, for him being a point guard, he's only 6'1". Height doesn't mean too much in the NBA as much as it did in years past. You see guys like Steph Curry,
especially at point guard. That's the least important position to be.
Jones
tall.
can shoot, so he's gonna have a decent future in the NBA. But he only had 1 assist that whole game. And for a guy that dominates the ball like he does, him and Quinn Cook a little bit, but it's mainly he ran the show. And for him to only have one assist, I mean, granted, he only had one turnover as well. But for him to have only one assist, that kind of worries me. But.
And to draw probably kind of a comparison to a former Dookie, Kyrie Irving, who, as we saw at the beginning of this season in the NBA, where he wasn't putting up assists, and that really hurt the Cavs.
Yep.
So Tyus Jones, while he is a tremendous talent, he will need to, in the NBA, learn to spread the ball around a little bit more.
I agree. I mean, and Kyrie's been doing a great job of that in the even second half. I'd say the last 3 quarters of the season. Cavs have been doing amazing. But before we get to the NBA, we'll stay on NCAA for a little bit longer. Another guy I want to talk about is Kaminsky. A lot of people think he's going to be in the top 10. I don't see it. What do you think about him?
I don't see Kaminsky in the top 10. I do believe he was 100% deserving of the John Wooden Award.
Yep.
I think he was absolutely the guy for the award. But I don't see him going in the top 10. I do see him in the first round, but later, mid-20s, I suspect. And I hope that he can play an important role for an NBA team, kind of like a Gordon Hayward or someone along those lines.
I don't really see Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward's more of a stretch. He's a stretch 3-4. Kaminsky is a Ryan Anderson to me. When I look at him, I see Ryan Anderson. Some people that I've talked to this past week say they see Dirk in him, and I kind of see Dirk a little bit.
A little bit of Dirk. Probably not the same shooting stroke that Dirk has.
Right. I mean,
Dirk's the best shooting big man of all
Kaminsky can
time.
Stroke, but Dirk can step back. I mean, Kaminsky. Another thing that scares me about Kaminsky is he's 7 foot, which is awesome, but he doesn't have that many post moves. You know what I'm saying?
True.
He's got the one.
You don't see him inside as much as
exactly.
Others.
That's what you should.
7'2".
What?
His mom looked like she was 7'2".
Oh yeah, I saw that in the game. She was quite tall.
She was pretty tall. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
That's okay. Kaminsky's got one move. It's the dribble in the paint, spin, put it up, and he makes it. I mean, he makes it. But I don't think he's going to make it in the NBA, or he's going to make those shots all those shots in the NBA, which scares me. I mean, you saw that against some pretty tough post guys against Duke. He was 7 for 16 field goals. I mean, that's decent, I guess, for wings and everything, but that's not that good for post guys who should be efficient. I love efficient big men.
Yeah.
You look at the game against Kentucky, he was efficient. He was 7 for 11. Staying on the lines of efficiency, going to the next Wisconsin player is Sam Decker. Sam Decker was unreal the last couple of games, and then the finals game, he kind of laid an egg.
He did.
Granted, he still had, 12 points, but he was 0 for 6 from downtown.
Which is where he thrived in the
Which is where he thrived. He had some big threes. He was 2 for 3 from downtown against Kentucky, and had that huge 3 with under a minute left to go against Kentucky that just erupted the crowd. I mean, that was a huge 3. He didn't have any of those. Granted, those some of those missed threes in the finals game came just forced in the last 30 seconds. But Decker, he didn't really show up in my opinion.
And we should actually, I think, mention the Kentucky game first of all. Obviously, Kentucky failed to go 40-0, which really stunned a lot of people. Not me to brag or not, but I didn't pick Kentucky there, and I thought that really put out a big statement what experience can mean to a team. Kentucky, obviously, this year was more experienced than they usually are, but Wisconsin was a true college basketball team with seniors and junior leadership on the floor, and I think that really, down the stretch, could have pushed them over to get the win.
I agree. I mean, it really there's a different atmosphere. I kind of guess I want to say. I mean, veteran leadership in both NCAA and NBA is huge. I mean, you just look at what teams like LeBron could do, Kobe. When guys like them, their team's is gonna do well for the most part, as long as they're healthy, of course, with the examples of Kobe. But the NCAA, you need veteran leadership to be good. I mean, personally, you need a veteran leadership and you need a good coach. Kentucky had both of them, or Wisconsin had both of them. Bo Ryan's a great coach, obviously great leadership, great veteran presence, and Duke as well. I mean, Quinn Cook is a senior. He finally got that ring. I mean, I'm glad that Duke won because he really did deserve a ring. That was a very emotional night for him. It was cool to watch. But also Coach K, I mean, best college basketball coach ever.
I think, we should mention that.
I mean, I don't even think it's close.
And the only person that you can put in the argument with him, obviously, is John Wooden, who won 10 national championships, which is unheard of in men's basketball. I mean, Coach K, I'm pretty sure, has the second most with 5.
I mean, what John Wooden did will never happen again. Ever.
But the level of competition in Coach K's era is just
so much more,
so much higher than John Wooden. I mean, UCLA went undefeated several times in those. They won 10 titles in 11 years, I believe. And I mean, it was like UConn's women's team, but UCLA men. So I mean, seeing that much dominance in a men's league was really like, I mean, kind of the norm back then. But now it's unheard of. And I really think, and I agree with you, that Coach K has now cemented himself as the greatest college basketball coach of all time.
I agree. But just to wrap it up, I mean, Wisconsin, it sucks when they don't have a game at the end, or when they don't win the game at the end. When you lose the last game of the season, it's just it's heartbreaking for those guys. And also, just one more comment before we move on. What do you think of Bo Ryan's comments about the refs, or he like kind of slyly just nailed the refs, and then also he made a comment saying that he builds his team from within. He doesn't like rented talent.
Yeah.
You hear that comment?
I did.
What do you think of that?
And I think it was Bo Ryan maybe being a little salty about losing. I mean, I respect him. He's a stand-up guy. He knows what he's talking about. He's been around the league for a while. But you wouldn't catch Coach K saying anything like that.
I agree.
And it might be just the pain of losing the championship after being so close.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need to be making those comments, though. I'm sure it's nothing really to dive too much into.
I mean,
it was probably just the heat of the
yeah.
moment. But it's not like him. So
yeah, I agree. Gabby?
Okay, guys, so one of the most exciting weeks in golf is here, the Masters. It's one of the biggest weeks we have had in golf. The Masters starts up tomorrow with a ceremonial first tee shot. If some of you need to catch up on your golf, here's a few things to know before watching. Tiger Woods has made his big comeback to golf after he decided to take some time off to improve. He will be playing in the Masters. I mean, how can you miss out on the Masters? Second, Rory McIlroy, the #1 player in the world, will take a shot at receiving his first green jacket. This is a pretty big deal for Rory. Third, you probably saw the young Jordan Spieth playing exceptionally well in the Masters last year, battling with 2014 Masters champ Bubba Watson. Will this be the year that young Spieth gets the green jacket? And lastly, we can't leave Bubba out. Will the previous Master champ put on the green jacket again? Guys, give me your take on the Masters this year.
All right, well, first thought is I don't think Bubba's going to repeat.
I don't think he
a
will
repeat in the Masters is extremely rare, and I just don't see it happening this year. While Bubba is a great golfer, and he's still playing great at this point, I want to say that it's Rory's year because he hasn't won it, and he's been so great for a good amount of time now. He's the #1 golfer in the world. But yet again, it's almost like the NCAA basketball tournament where, I mean, very rarely does the best person, in this case, win the whole thing.
Unless you're Tiger Woods.
Unless you're Tiger Woods, but of course, I mean...
Or Arnold Palmer or Jack Nicklaus.
Well, yeah, but again, back in the day, 50 years ago. But I think it's going to be an interesting tournament. As always, it's kind of up in the air who's going to win. There is, I mean, of course, a handful of guys that you really want to keep in that conversation of who you think is going to win. Rory McIlroy, Bubba Watson, Adam Scott, Jimmy Walker, who's been playing unbelievably this year. And now Tiger's back in the conversation. And what do you think about Tiger?
This is what I'm saying about Tiger. Tiger will have a top 10 finish if he stays healthy throughout the weekend. Okay? He will make the cut, and he will have a top 10 finish. I even think he might win again, and here's why. Now, he's played in 2 events this year. Okay, he withdrew from one because of an injury and got cut from another, the other one before that. But Tiger took, like 2.5, 3 months off now? And he said, I mean, he made a statement saying how great he feels. I mean, granted, everybody says that. Derrick Rose says that. Okay. But the thing that I saw the other day, I read this. Actually, somebody told me this the other day. Tiger had a practice round last week. Everybody, that's huge news because nobody went. And I heard this. I'm hoping this is true. I mean, from a reliable source, that Tiger shot a 66 in his practice round, which is impressive as it is.
Impressive, yes.
But here's the most impressive part. That's not even the most impressive part. All right, he played worst ball. So he took 2 shots from every place that he hit. And hit the worst ball every single time.
And
that's not even the most impressive part. Okay, he got to the green, and in order for a putt to count, he had to make it twice. So if it's a 10-foot putt, he had to make it twice. If it's a 30-foot putt, he had to make it twice.
Now, I like to hear that.
He shot a 66.
That's the work ethic of the Tiger that we used to
That's
know.
what you exactly.
That's the young Tiger.
That's the young Tiger.
The young Tiger.
Tiger made the quote in his press conference yesterday that he thought when he would have a bad round and he would go to bed and he'd wake up thinking, all right, he's back to normal. And obviously that wasn't the case. And he firmly believed that. And now he really done that in the past couple of years. He's built himself up incrementally now. He feels like he's 110%. I mean, with that round, hearing not only the score of the round, but how he played that round, that is ridiculous to shoot that well. In my opinion, I mean, not just my opinion, that's just it's ridiculous to shoot that well. And I honestly think if Tiger stays healthy, he will finish in the top 10, and it's going to be great for the game of golf. Because Tiger changed the game of golf. I mean, when Tiger finally retires, golf won't be the same. He changed it forever. He's the best thing to happen to golf ever. And I think if he can do a top 10 finish, and especially if he can win, it's going to be huge.
Exactly. And golf is one of those sports where really one person can make or break the whole thing. I mean, you look, since Tiger's sort of fall from grace from when the scandal happened a couple years ago and he's really kind of fallen off the top of the golf world, the numbers, the viewership numbers for golf have been way down each year, and they keep getting worse. And it's because Tiger's not there because of how good he is for the game. So I would love to see him come back because that would really help golf as a sport in general. That being said, I'm not sold on him making a great run at the championship. He does sound like he's improving, and I like to hear that. But I feel like we've kind of heard this thing before with him in the past, especially around Masters times in the past, and he's always kind of failed to deliver. I do think he'll make the cut, and I expect him to definitely finish in the top 25, at least, is where I would pick him at. My winner, though, I'm gonna stick with Rory, and I mean, there's not much to say. I mean, he's the best golfer in the world right now, and I just think it is finally his year.
He's gonna win one. When it's all said and done, he's gonna win one. Yeah. It's basically just a matter of when. Yeah. I mean, he's honestly he's incredible to watch. But the thing about the field, I mean, it's a great field. I mean, there's so many good guys. The talent level seems
Dustin
very
Johnson's
high
made a
right
big
now.
comeback too.
Dustin Johnson,
he came back.
Yep.
You know, he came back after being suspended from the PGA for a little while. He came back, and we saw him win a tournament recently. I think Dustin Johnson's going to really show out during the Masters this year. I think he's my dark horse. I have Dustin Johnson as my dark horse. Winning the tournament, he's going to be the type that's like, nah, he's not. You know, he took that time off. It kind of like was for the worst, but I think that it was for the best, and I think we're going to see Dustin Johnson maybe come back and win the Masters.
My pick to win the Masters, yours was Rory, yours was Dustin. My pick is Matt Kuchar. The guy has played in 10 events this year. He's made the cut in all of them. He has 7 top 25 finishes, 2 of them in the top 10, and of those 2 in the top 10, he was 1 second and 1/3. So he's still looking for that first win. He's been around the past couple years. He's been in the top 10 for numerous major tournaments. So I think Kuchar's year maybe. I'm still picking Tiger Woods. I'm a fan of bold. I'm a fan of bold predictions. Kuchar's my dark horse. I'm a fan of bold predictions. I mean, for God's sakes, I picked Michigan State to win it all. Okay,
didn't happen.
They lost. I mean, they got crushed by Duke. Okay,
but they got really far. They got farther than
They got far. They got really far. They did. They got really far. But I'm a fan of bold predictions. I'm going to go with Tiger. I mean, Tiger's my guy. I've loved Tiger ever since everybody's loved Tiger since he's been in here. I've rooted for Tiger every single time he's come back, and I've been hurt every single time he withdraws because of some other injury that seems fake. Yeah. But hopefully this is his year. I mean, it's going to be good for the game of golf, and it's going to be fun to watch. This Masters is going to be awesome.
It's going to be great. I'm really excited to watch this year's Masters.
Yeah. My dark horse pick, and it's hard to call him a dark horse because he's one of the greatest golfers of all time, but I got to go with Phil Mickelson as my dark horse.
Okay.
He's hanging around there around the 10 to 20 range right now, and I just see him as one of those golfers that will fly under the radar a little bit first couple of days of the tournament, and then you'll kind of notice that he's still hanging around the top. And then at the end, I think he could really push towards the end. But I want to mention again Jimmy Walker because we saw he's been playing out of his mind this season so far.
He's number one.
He's number one in the FedEx Cup.
Yep.
But for that one reason that he's number one, I'm not picking him.
Yeah.
To win the whole thing.
I see Jordan Spieth doing a lot of things. I mean, we saw him last year battling with Bubba Watson to the end. He's young. He's 20 years old. You know, we got this young guy coming out. We see a lot of young guys now in the Masters coming out and really showing out, being in the top 10, being right there battling with the number one. So I think Jordan Spieth is actually going to show us, is going to surprise us again like he did last year. I don't think he's going to win it, but I think he's going to be battling with the top.
I mean, that's a really good pick. And one thing that comes to mind when she said he's been a young guy and just always young guys have always stuck around. Rory McIlroy, remember his first Masters? How bad? I mean, just how bad he was. I mean, young guys, it's just like kind of, just sports in general. You need that experience especially for a tournament of this stature. I mean, Roy McIlroy in his press conference yesterday said he still gets nervous on the first tee of the Masters. And I mean, and Roy's had an amazing career, but he still gets nervous for the Masters. So I mean, that point is when Spieth. I mean, I do think Spieth is going to have a good weekend. Well, if he's still in it on Sunday, that's when experience kind of takes over. I mean, that's why if Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson are in it Sunday, if Rory's in it on Sunday, I mean, Rory's got experience now. If Adam Scott's in it Sunday, I think they're going to be my top guys going into Sunday.
And my final point I want to make about the Masters, and she kind of reminded me about it when she was talking about the younger players, is that you really have to watch out for kind of the unknown to the common player golfer, because the sporting event that I think of is most similar to the Masters is the Daytona 500. It's like a sport that doesn't get a whole lot of attention, but it's the biggest event of that. And a lot of times with the Masters and the Daytona 500, when it's over, you don't really know who the guy is that won. You've never heard of
Charles
him before,
Schwartzel.
maybe. Exactly, Charles Schwartz. I can't even pronounce his name. But
I agree 100%.
Yeah, just final point, you do have to watch out for the unknown because anybody could make a run at it.
And for a final point, NASCAR is not a sport, okay? I can drive around a circle and take left turns.
I'm not a NASCAR fan or anything. I'm just making the point.
Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
Anyway.
Back to you, Gabby.
All right, now for some NBA. Recently, we've seen some exciting things happening in the NBA. We have Rose returning tonight from his latest knee injury. We've also seen some big wins and some tough losses in the past weeks. Guys, I want to know what teams you think are making a good playoff push, and who do you have as your MVP as of right now?
Well, I am getting excited about the NBA playoffs coming up. This is an exciting time.
And being a Cavs fan, finally.
Yeah. As for Derrick Rose, to mention real quick, he is coming back. I don't have huge confidence in him. I think Derrick Rose, while he is a great talent, I think he's still going to be plagued with injuries throughout his whole career. I mean, he's going to be the kind of player that at the end of the year, he's not going to be counting rings. He's going to be counting his knee injuries because he's already got like 4 major knee injuries. It just happens every time he comes back.
I can't believe how fast he came back, to be honest.
Yeah,
he was out,
which scares me
February 20th, February 23rd, something like that. He's missed 20 games, which is, a good chunk of games, but still.
It's a quarter of the season, but...
only 2 months?
Well, 20 games is a quarter of the season.
Well, I'm saying, but like only 2 months, year-wise. I'm not saying
that scares me a little bit, how fast he's coming back, especially with the injuries he's had in the past. I, as a Bulls fan, I'm not a Bulls fan, but if I was one, I would want Rose to wait and come back a little bit later. Say maybe if they hang around the 2-3 spot, maybe they can get an easy matchup in the first round of the playoffs, and then hope that they would need him in that first series, and then maybe get him back for the second series in the playoffs. And that, I think, would be the best time span scenario for him. But now he's coming back early, which I think could hurt him, especially if they get in a matchup in the first round with a team that's really scrappy and maybe wants to just prove that they can win.
And which they will. I mean, you look, when you get to the playoffs and you're going to be facing that they're going to be facing the 6th or 7th seed. I mean, they're going to be or a 5th or 6th team. They're going to be playing some guys that are the teams that are going to really need to just make a show out of it. They need to really have an all-out effort, and they're going to be scrappy. Greg Oden. I mean, I know Greg Oden didn't have nearly as good as a season, but they rushed him back off his knee injury, and he got injured again.
And now he's gone.
Rose. Rose took a great big chunk time before his last return. And it still didn't work. So
he's missed about 2 full seasons.
Oh yeah. I hope. just personally, I'm a Cavs fan, and the Bulls are in the division. The Bulls are in the same conference. But I hope to God Derrick Rose can get back to his MVP form because he's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, he is former best point guard in the NBA.
Just put all your favorite teams aside. It's a shame when you see that talent. He was the youngest MVP. You see that guy go down. That's really a shame. It's awesome. Speaking of returns, Paul George came back Sunday.
That was good to see.
In a win. They won. He only played 15 minutes, but he had 13 points in 15 minutes. They beat the Heat.
Very, very efficient.
Very efficient. And the Indiana Pacers are still hanging around.
They are. That's good to
seed.
see as a team that was the 1 seed last season. And then just over the postseason, Paul George's injury certainly hurt them, but they took a huge blow.
Yes, they did.
And they went from first to now, I believe that they're in 10th right now.
10th, yep. They're a game and a half, I think, back of the 8th spot. The Celtics are in are 8th. Then you got the Heat. Heat are sucking. Celtics came along.
Yeah.
Ever since they picked up Isaiah Thomas, they've been doing really well.
And that shocked me because after Rajon Rondo left I really thought they had nothing left. I thought it was just going to be play for a draft pick and just see what happens. But now they're making a push and they're in 8th place.
Isaiah Thomas, I think, is a better player than Rajon Rondo for that team because he scores. Rondo, I'm not really that big on Rondo anymore because he can't really shoot. I mean, he's
a pass first.
He's
point
a cocky
guard.
guy. I mean, he's a pass first point guard who's just really. I mean, it's hard to be cocky when you're supposed to share.
A pass first.
Like, I don't know, it's weird. But I think Isaiah Thomas scores. You know, he wants to win. Isaiah's a fireball. I mean, he's fun to watch. He's going to be big if they make it to the playoffs. But I really want the Pacers to make the playoffs because if that'd be some story to see how far the Pacers can go with.
It would. And let's go ahead and talk about the East right now because the East is getting more and more interesting by the day, while also seemingly at times collapsing in on itself.
Yeah.
It still is very shaky. The Hawks are going to get the 1 seed. I believe they already have it locked up. They do.
Yep.
But
they're only 9 games above Cleveland now.
Yes, but they have already clinched.
Right, they have already
division.
clinched. I mean, there's only 4 games left, but still.
They are not playing that great right now.
Right.
They're only 5-5 over their last 10 games, which is kind of proving some fears that we had earlier in the season that they might not be able to keep it up come the postseason. And right now, it's kind of looking like that. The Cavs, on the other hand, keep getting better, it seems, and the Bulls, Raptors, and Wizards have been hanging around the middle of the pack the whole seson, and they're still there. I can't believe
the Raptors have hung around. I mean, DeMar DeRozan was out there for a little bit. I mean, they've been hanging around. To be honest, I don't think there's another team in the East. This is unbiased, by the way. I don't think there's a team in the East that can beat the Cavs unless the Hawks get back to their midseason form.
Right now, it's looking a little scarce. The bottom of the East is shaping up a little bit more interestingly, though. You wouldn't really think of a lot of them being able to make a lot of noise, but the Celtics are hot, and actually the Nets, I want to talk about the Brooklyn Nets, they are 8-2 over their last 10 games, which is tied for best in the division over that stretch.
They're
with
one
the
of the best
Cavaliers.
teams since, I think, the beginning of March, aren't they?
They are. They're tied with the Cavs for the best record in the East over the last 10 games. They have some very impressive wins in there, including over the Cavs and over Portland 2 nights ago. They're in 7th place right now, and they're only 2 games behind Milwaukee in 6th. So for a team that looked like the season was lost a couple months ago, Brook Lopez was the best player in the East this last month, and it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of hold this up. I mean, as of right now, they'd be playing the Cavs in the playoffs, which would be the 2 hottest teams in the East, but I'm not sure if the Nets could win that matchup.
I mean, I agree. The only thing, I wish the East, just their records were better.
Yeah, because the bottom 3 teams in the East
are below 500.
And the Milwaukee can finish the season above 500. The Nets can finish 500 if they win the rest of their games, and the Celtics can't. So at least one of them is going to be below 500.
One team I want to talk about real quick, and I know you're going to have a lot to say about them too, is 2.5 months ago, we were saying, is this the end of the Spurs' reign? Is this the end of their franchise? Are they even going to? They're not even going to make the playoffs, and now they are 51-26, second in the power rankings. What do you have to say about them?
They are the best team in the NBA right now. Ooh. Bar none, I say.
Better than the Warriors.
Better than the Warriors. The Warriors have lost 2 games in a row, and they're only, I think, 6-4 of their last 10. The Spurs are 9-1 over their last 10 and have won 8 in a row. They are playing out of their minds.
They are.
And what kind of is a little scary almost for other teams in the West is that the Spurs are in 6th place right now, but they're only a game and a half out of 2nd because the West is so close.
Wow, I knew it was close, but I did not know it was that close.
It's very close.
I did not know it was that close.
The Grizzlies, who, I guess the Rockets are in 2nd, and they're 9.5 games back, I believe, from the Warriors. And the Spurs are only a game and a half behind the Rockets. So it's going to be a very tight race at the end there, but there was a point in the middle of the season where I thought the Spurs might be losing it a little bit, but at the beginning of the year, I still picked them to win the title, even though they weren't playing as good as the Warriors and the Rockets. But now I'm definitely sticking to that pick. They are right now my pick to win the title because it almost seems like Popovich was just like, all right, guys, championship form, go.
I mean, you get the Spurs healthy in the playoffs. There's not many teams that's going to be able to beat them. I mean, I've been preaching efficiency and I've been preaching veteran leadership, and there's not a team. Teams can stick together for another 5 years, 5-10 years, and they still wouldn't have the experience and chemistry veteran leadership as the Spurs would.
They're the Duke of the NBA right now.
I mean, they're not only. I mean, Greg Popovich is I honestly think he's better than Phil Jackson.
I completely agree. I think he's the greatest coach of all time.
But I think he's the greatest coach of all time.
Because he's had less talent.
Some people say, he's had Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili. Well, those guys, I guarantee, Tim Duncan might be, but I don't even think, Tim Duncan might be, but Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, Kawhi Leonard maybe, Thiago Splitter's made a name for himself, Danny Green especially. Danny Green is with LeBron and the Cavs way back when.
Yeah, Danny Green he's been special for the
Greg
Spurs.
Popovich made those guys.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at Phil Jackson, he had Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time, Kobe Bryant,
Shaquille
top 5
O'Neal.
player of all time, Shaq, probably the biggest big man of all time. I mean, he's had the talent, and Pop has really done it with his coaching.
Yeah, Popovich.
So that's my point there. But other than moving on from the Spurs, the Warriors have clinched the division.
Yep.
We all kind of expected that. They're at 63 wins, I believe, right now.
First time since 1976, I believe, since they clinched the division. Golden State.
Yeah, and the top 7 spots in the West are already clinched. The 8th spot is currently
New Orleans.
The New Orleans.
Yep.
And they are in a dogfight with Oklahoma City.
Half a game up.
Oklahoma City, who is desperate to make the playoffs after being injury riddled.
That's interesting to watch.
Yeah, and Oklahoma City had the spot pretty, well, not locked up, but they had a good lead on it, and they just lost the last 4 games in a row.
Knowing with that losing the last 4 games in a row, that just shows why Russell Westbrook should not be the MVP. I don't care how many stats you put up. I don't care how many triple doubles you have. Is it impressive? Yes, it is. Are you a good basketball player? Yes, you are. But does that mean you're good enough to carry a team? Most valuable player means that you can carry a team. You can make a team win. Steph Curry's doing that. James Harden's doing that. LeBron's doing that. Anthony Davis, once again, he's putting up good numbers, but his team's not winning. Russell Westbrook putting up, unreal numbers. His team's not winning. They might not even make the playoffs.
And that'll be sad, because if they do make the playoffs, they could probably get KD back.
Oh, they will. I think they. Oh, actually, no. He's done for the season, isn't he?
I think I read that he's only missing 2 months.
Okay, so he could.
So he could come back to the playoffs if they can get in. Now, I haven't looked at their schedule for the last 5 or 6 games, but I'm assuming it's going to be tough.
4 games left. 4 games left.
4 games left for them. I'm assuming it's going to be very tough. They just got drubbed by the Spurs by about 23 the other night. They're definitely trending downward right now, and that's a little disappointing to see. But an interesting point that I noticed was that if the Pelicans make the playoffs, then the Southwestern Division will have put all 5 of their teams into the playoffs, which is insane.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
Yeah. And then finally, about the NBA, just wrapping up our MVP picks for this point.
Once again.
MVP watch 2015. But I have to stick with Steph Curry, I think. He's the obvious choice, but there's a reason why he's the obvious choice. Just to add for a little conversation, I guess I'll throw in a number 2 pick, if you will. And my number 2 pick for the moment is probably James Harden. He's been playing great. The Rockets are in 2nd place. They're really kind of flying under the radar a little bit
for being a second-place team. They are. I agree
kind
there.
of flying underneath the radar. But what about you?
Last time we talked about this, I picked LeBron. I think. Time before that, I think I picked James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
I'm jumping on the bandwagon finally. Steph Curry is, I think, hands down the MVP. I don't think there's a chance anybody else will get it with how well the Golden State Warriors did, with how well Steph Curry had a great year. Steph Curry's the MVP, and that's just my opinion, but I think he will be hands down. James Harden had a great year, but his team did not do nearly as well as Steph Curry's did. So I think Steph Curry is the MVP.
Okay, and then finally, just who right now you think your title pick?
I think the Cavs. And
Sticking with the Cavs?
I want the Cavs to win, obviously, because I'm a huge fan, but I just don't think any team in the East can beat the Cavs. And
I agree with you there. I don't think any team in the East in a game 7
and I think
could win.
I just think the Cavs match up well with the defensively. They can easily shut down Golden State Warriors. I can't talk. Golden State Warriors and the Spurs. They'll give them a run for their money, but I just think they match up great with everybody. The only team that's going to give them fits is the Hawks, and maybe whoever they play in the second round, just because hey, it's the playoffs. Anything can happen. But I honestly think the Cavs will win it all, and bring a title to Cleveland since 1964. So.
They do deserve that. And again, my title pick, I'm sticking with San Antonio. I don't think Golden State's going to come out. While they have been great, I don't know if they're going to make it. I think San Antonio, I think, is going to move up to probably 3rd That's where I think they're going to finish in the regular season. I think they're going to finish in third, which would really help them out. And that's my pick.
Home court.
All right,
Gabby?
that's it, Gabby.
Okay, guys, the MLB has started up. We saw on opening day the Blue Jays defeated the Yankees 6-1, the Red Sox defeated the Phillies 8-0, and the Orioles defeated the Rays 6-2. Guys, what do you think about the outcome of opening week in the MLB?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, just because of how massive the season is, it's a little hard to make.
160 games left.
It's a little hard to make a lot of first impressions after just 2 days. Definitely. But what did you think about the opening weekend?
I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, it's hard for me to make an impression after the first 2 months. You know, even teams at the All-Star break, I mean, that's when you can start to finally say, like, all right, here we go. But even for the next couple months, it's going to be really hard to tell. But my pick so far, Miami Marlins, my sleeper pick for the NL East.
Not so hot.
Look, it's so hot. They just got crushed 12-2 last night. They go up against Shelby Miller and the Braves tonight. I think that they'll get their first win tonight. But I mean, there's been some awesome baseball going on. I love baseball. I mean, I could talk about this for hours.
And opening weekend is always
It's
special,
always
whether you're
the
a
best.
baseball fan or not.
It's the best.
Opening day in baseball is more important than any other
opening
sport.
day
It's
ever.
more of a holiday
Yeah.
in those towns. I mean, it feels like a festival, a parade, and anything like that. But you don't see that during the first game of football season or anything.
Or even NBA. I mean, opening day for baseball is huge. It's finally back. Some guys that have had amazing. I'm going to give you 3 batters, and I'm going to give you 3 pitchers who've had, amazing first 2 games, first 3 games for some. They've already played. Some of them already played today. But going down the list for batters, Nolan Arenado, he's 556. Granted, average doesn't mean anything because he's only played 2 games. But he was
Still a good average.
Yeah, he was 3 for 4 Monday night with a bomb, and then he was 2 for 5 last night. Dustin Pedroia was 3 for 5 Monday night. He had 2 home runs in that game. Adrian Gonzalez was 3 for 5 Monday night with a home run, and then 3 for 4 last night with a home run. David Price is doing David Price things. 8 2/3 innings pitched. Felix Hernandez doing Felix Hernandez things. 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 10 strikeouts. He's going to make a case for the Cy Young. And then Clay Buchholz, who's been awful, who was just absolutely awful last year. 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 9 strikeouts, only 1 walk and no earned runs. I mean, great outing from Clay Buchholz. I mean, if the Red Sox want to be in contention at the end of the season, they need pitching. And if Clay Buchholz can give that to them, that's going to be big for the Red Sox.
And about the Red Sox, the pitcher that they paid all that big money, he's starting tonight.
Purcello.
Yeah.
Yep. He's starting tonight. Yeah, that's going to be fun to watch. I think Purcello was one of the better pitchers on the Tigers. Very under the radar. Ground ball pitcher, nothing too flashy. But I think he's going to be quality for the Red Sox as long as he keeps the ball on the ground and not in the air, just mostly like every other pitcher. But Red Sox, if they can get pitching, that's going to be a hard team to fight with because they got Hanley Ramirez, Pablo Sandoval, Dustin Pedroia. I mean, they got a good line.
I agree. I'm picking them to win the East.
Picking them to win the East.
To win the East.
I think that like I said, I think they're going to be a good team. I'm still picking the Blue Jays. I think it's their year, but like I said, if Boston,
good opening day from them, they put the Yankees away pretty well.
Oh God, I mean, the Yankees. I mean, that goes out.
I mean, it's only been 1 game, but so far their money looks like it was poorly spent. We'll see.
Yeah, my Indians lost to Houston. Got shut out by Dallas Keuchel and everything. I wish we could talk a little bit more about baseball, but there's like you said, there's just really very small sample wise.
We can mention some stats, talk about a couple games, but I mean, there's no notable games this early in the season.
We won't be able to talk too much into baseball until next year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we have about as much information as the first 1 minute of a football game.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, but like I said, it's been a great opening day. It's going to be a great opening week. It's going to be a great opening month. It's going to be another great season for baseball, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I agree.
Gabby?
All right, Gabby.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in tonight to The Extra Point. Tune in next Wednesday and get on the action. Thanks, guys.